scary podcast. Well, it better be Guide to the Unknown.
Hello, welcome to Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And this week we're bringing you some new weird tales from New Jersey.
Or ancient old weird tales.
That's true. New to the show, but
Yes.
archaic, arcane, and ancient.
Yes.
The 3 A's. That's what AAA stands for.
Aren't ancient, arcane, and...
That's right.
And what?
Archaic.
Archaic.
Mm-hmm.
Arcane and archaic? Are they
fine.
derived from the same? Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Anyway, moving on.
That's right.
Way back in episode 50 of this show, we covered the New Jersey Devil.
Mm-hmm.
We've also done an episode called Ghosts of Somerset County.
Yes.
We've talked a lot about New Jersey folklore.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do it again, but this time, what Kristen and I did, and I almost view this as something of like a challenge.
Yeah, it kind of was challenging.
It was very challenging. We got curious.
Mm-hmm.
We started to look up what are other cryptids from New Jersey specifically.
Right.
Our own backyard, all around us here.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, of course, the second that you think about cryptids, honestly, probably straight up, if somebody says cryptid to you, yeah, Sasquatch, Nessie, but Jersey Devil is probably at the top.
I think so.
Maybe around the country, people might say Jersey Devil.
I think it probably is. I think it probably is one of the big boys with like Mothman
Yeah.
and Bigfoot and stuff.
Yeah.
Jersey Devil's pretty known.
So we're going to talk about some of the lesser known, or in my case, possibly completely fabricated and made up for the purposes of publicity.
I also have one that I think is completely made up. Not for publicity, but just I don't think that it's got any basis in fact.
Yeah, I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, and I'm not really making an accusation even, but like, I straight up think one is just to sell a book.
Can we start with that one?
Yeah, sure, because there's almost literally nothing to say.
Okay.
And the book is really good, so I will also plug it. Like, I'll recommend that people pick it up. It's like a fun, light paranormal read, and it gave a lot of inspiration for stuff to cover in this episode.
Cool.
So we Googled New Jersey cryptids.
Right.
And by doing that, I found out about a book called Monsters of New Jersey. And even just to shout that out further, it's Monsters of New Jersey, written by Bruce G. Hallenbeck and Lauren Coleman, both of whom seem like they are severely invested in folklore and cryptids, and I think that they've written other books of other states.
Oh, cool.
This is almost one of those series like doing Weird New Jersey or Weird Pennsylvania or whatever. So this is one of the cryptids that they mentioned as coming from New Jersey, an obscure cryptid that they called the Lizard Man of Great Meadows.
Okay.
So I instantly wrote it down.
Right.
I'm thinking we're going to learn all about this Lizard Man. Maybe it'll be like when you and we talked about the Loveland Frogmen or whatever, who had wands.
Yes.
Waved wands. I'm like, maybe we're going to get some fun, like half man, half lizard, fighting Spider-Man type stuff.
Right.
It seems to me, as much as I'm saying people should check out Monsters of New Jersey, they love to embellish.
Okay.
They love to embellish.
All right.
I would call it like very sort of like pulpy, top level kinds of storytelling. So this chapter was even just called like Lizard Men of New Jersey. Something I'm like, oh, it's not even just the one lizard man.
Right. This is a plural.
Yeah, we're going to meet a cadre, a boy band of lizard men.
Great.
What are different kinds of lizards that might be in that band? A
I
chameleon?
don't think I know enough about lizards to be able to rattle that off.
The front man's a
bearded-
Komodo dragon.
A bearded dragon? Is that the same?
A bearded dragon, I don't think is the same. No, so
Okay.
that's 2. Chameleon is 3.
Okay.
And that guy can change colors and stuff. So, they use him in the music video and stuff.
Hell yeah. The kind of lizard where if you pick them up by the tail separates.
Yes, a lizard who's holding his own tail.
Yeah.
That keeps falling
Maybe
off.
playing it like a guitar.
Oh, shredding on that thing.
Yeah.
Yes. And we need a 5th.
Okay.
Say a 5th kind of lizard, Kristen. Gecko.
Gecko.
A gecko, who cares?
Great.
We have to move on.
Yes.
Anyway, it wasn't as fun as I thought it would be. When we were in San Francisco at one point, Allie was looking under the bed for something that we dropped, and she goes, "Ah!" I was like, "What?" She goes, "There's a lizard in here." And there
Was
was.
there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what
It was-
did you
It
do?
was California. What did I do?
Yeah.
Watched
Or any
Allie
of
get
you.
rid of it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Did she bring it
She
outside?
knew what she was doing. Yeah. She
Yeah.
She
Put
got
it on
it
a
out.
piece of paper?
She had formed like, you know what? I think it was the cardboard that comes in a man's shirt.
Okay.
I
Yep.
think that folded
That's
neatly
nice and
around
thin,
it, and
yeah.
she was able to sort of corral it out safely,
Sweet.
nicely, tail intact. Love the lizard, just didn't want him in the room.
Sure.
So anyway, the Lizard Man of Great Meadows. In the chapter, they go like, there are plenty of lizard men, famous lizard men, all over the world. And I'm already like, we're not getting anything, are we?
This seems like a lot of padding.
And they go, of
And
course.
also, are there?
I don't know. They go like, there's this incredibly famous encounter from South Carolina. Let's talk about that for 3, 4, maybe even 5 paragraphs.
Huh.
Then there's about 3 sentences where they go, and of course, a lizard man was spotted in New Jersey. Now let's also
Moving on.
talk about big lizards. And I was like, that's it? That was it, Kristen. That was the entire mention of lizard men in New Jersey. Here's all they have to say. I wrote it down.
Peculiar.
This is the quote. This is all there is in the chapter about lizard men from New Jersey that is actually about a lizard man from New Jersey. During the summer of 1973, residents of the Newton-Lafayette area in New Jersey described a giant man-like alligator they had seen locally. Newspaper reporters wrote about an old Indian tale from the region of a giant man-sized fish that could never be caught. Arguably that's one sentence, because the second sentence I copied. Maybe I guess I shouldn't even have copied because it was about a fish.
I'm about to say that's fish centric.
That was a fish. So I've got one lizard man sentence. Yeah. from the Newton Lafayette area, people described a giant man-like alligator they had seen locally, and then they move on to talk about fish, and then they move on to just talk about big lizards. So it was nothing, but they called it the Lizard Man of Great Meadows, which instantly pins...
Did they even mention Great Meadows?
Maybe, for all I guess Newton Lafayette is part of
Okay.
the Great Meadows. I don't know if that's a town or anything.
I don't either.
I can't profess to know everything about New Jersey. That's why
No.
it's so valuable for us to do this
Of course.
service where we tell people.
It's educational.
Yeah, are you being educated right now? Everybody play this in school.
Are you not educated?
Oh, good one. So I kept Googling the name Lizard Man of Great Meadows, and it only brought me back to the book.
Yeah, that happens on this show sometimes.
Yeah.
I've
So-
experienced that myself.
They came up with like a thing, and they gave it a good kind of cryptidy sounding name. You know?
Yeah.
The Lizard Man of Great Meadows makes it feel bigger.
Feel like a
even if
thing.
it's really, a clause of a sentence.
Right.
It's getting smaller and smaller. It's
and
not
mostly
even
fish centric.
it's mostly fish centric. But at one point they did say man-like. Man-like alligator. I'm gonna forget even a clause. There are 2 words of this chapter that sort of hit onto it.
Did they talk about they're talking about lizards of the country also more than a lizard of New Jersey. Did they talk about the Denver airport and that whole lizard plot?
Maybe. Let's find out. I can literally open it right this
I'm just
second.
curious. That seems like one of the more famous, lizard humanoid things
Of course.
of the Americas.
I'm searching for the word Denver. Nope. Does not.
Okay.
Does not come up.
All right,
I
so
searched
they
for
used
man-like.
Admirable restraint.
Yes. The chapter itself is called Lizard Men and Various Vicious Reptiles.
Okay.
I would say
All right.
emphasis
Are
on
fish-
various.
Are fish a reptile?
Lizard Men and Various Vicious reptilians.
Okay.
Yeah, lizards are reptiles.
No, fish.
Are fish reptiles? I don't think so. I think fish are fish.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think so. But look, the
They're
chapter...
certainly not mammalian.
This is the
I
whole
like that word.
chapter. 1, 2, 3, 4...
That's a quick
3.5 pages.
It's like if I wrote a book.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, 100%. Yes, that's correct.
I totally get it.
And that's why I'm saying it's a fun, light pick up and read. I think I'll have a link to check it out in the show notes. There's plenty more to check out than just this episode we'll provide from this book.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
All right, so let's talk about my thing that I think is just based in, everything is probably this way, but just based in people talking and telling stories and mountains being
Yes.
made out of molehills. This is the story of the Hoboken Monkey Man.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I love this.
Somebody asked you.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand what you were even talking about. So
I think I told the story all weird and backwards anyway. So we
Okay.
should mention that kind of the reason that this is our topic this week is that we were at the the Jersey Devil Fable Festival that was put on by Asbury Park, New Jersey's Paranormal Books and Curiosities just this past weekend. And we were originally supposed to do a live show there, which was this show.
Yeah.
It's what we prepared for. But because it rained and they ended up moving everything inside, we weren't able to do a live show, but we were still able to meet a bunch of people and have a good time sitting at the table. And so what Will is talking about is that one of the people that we met at the convention or the festival, was asking about different cryptids that we might know. Like, oh, have you heard of this? Have you heard of that? And weirdly, like most of what he was asking was stuff that I had covered
Yeah.
or was going to cover that day.
It was incredible.
So I was like, yes, I do know about the Hoboken Monkey Man. And then I started rattling off just whatever I remembered in my brain. So it was probably came out all cattywampus.
Okay.
And
I guess, because I did not know what was going on. All I knew was that he kept going like, what about this? And you'd be like,
Right.
yes, that's in my notes. I was going to talk about that today. And he'd be like, okay, well, what about that? And you're like, yeah, I'm looking at that right now.
yeah,
And then he goes, okay, what do you think the monkey man is? And you had an answer.
yeah, I like cracked my knuckles and got ready.
Yeah.
So here's what people like the description of the monkey man is. They say that, you know, it's like a giant ape sort of figure that was attacking kids in particular, like basically a very school centric sort of villain. So it was an ape monster that was attacking school kids, whether they were in school at the time, on their way home, and even had been said to throw a teacher out of a window. So this is a very school-centric, scary monster.
Yeah.
And something that I liked about this story was that even though the term urban legends obviously has the word urban in it, meaning
Yeah.
city or whatever, I feel like most urban legends that you come across are actually more suburban, where it's taking place in, you know, a place that has cul-de-sacs.
I have an
and-
answer for this.
Oh, please do.
I know all about the origin of urban legends.
Yeah.
There was a folklorist named Jan Harold Brunvand. I don't know if it's Jan, it's Jan, so I'm assuming Jan. But he was one of the people that popularized the term urban legend. He had, you know, a mentor who coined the term. But all it ever meant was to distinguish between old folklore of being like,
Makes
there's
sense.
a witch in a cave. Like when you think about the term folklore, it feels a little bit dusty, and it
Yeah.
feels like for some people, and I'm sort of one of them, it almost makes you a little bit sleepy, where you're like, oh boy, you're
Yeah,
gonna
it
like tell
could
me.
be cool or it could be boring.
It could be very boring. It
Yeah.
could be like, you know, the entire lore behind Lord of the Rings type stuff, where I'm just like, I don't know.
And like
how...
explaining farming procedures.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, how in the weeds are we going to get? But it was around the 50s and 60s that, and I wish I could think of his mentor's name, because he was really the one that invented the term. But they were noticing these stories. They were professors, and they were noticing like their students telling stories of like the hook on a car door,
Right.
you know, and they were like, well, this is folklore. It is, because it's not true, right?
Right.
And people aren't even necessarily telling the stories under the belief that they're true. But it's not folklore because folklore feels old.
Yeah.
So urban legend only ever meant modern. It
Right.
just meant of like the new industrialized world. So
Makes total
urban
sense.
legend is a misnomer, 100%.
Ah, okay.
They even folklorists like more like they almost rebelled against the term urban legend.
Mm-hmm.
But society, like people just latched onto it. And so
It sounds
it's still
great,
what we use, an urban
honestly.
legend. Yeah, exactly. But it has nothing to do with cities. It has nothing to do with urban environments. It
Hmm.
is just about modern day folklore.
Well, I guess in a way, I mean, it must have something to do with cities if they're using the word urban, but not necessarily like geographically it happens in a city.
Right.
But I guess the advent of kind of city living and stuff is a more modern convention.
Yes.
So rather than calling them modern legends,
Even having
they
a
call
car.
them urban legends.
Even having like a car that you can drive to make out point or whatever
Right.
the hell is more urban
Than-
living in a swamp.
Totally.
You know,
Yeah.
Which is what we think of folklore as being. It's about like pastures and fields and
Mm-hmm.
trees. And now urban legends have a lot to do with, the phone.
Right.
The babysitter calling from inside, or the call from inside the house to the babysitter.
Yeah, modern conventions and conveniences.
They should really be called modern legends.
Yeah.
That's what they should probably be called. But we're all so common, like so used to the term urban legend as meaning something spooky
Right.
that we just latched on. And that's just what it is. It's what
It
it's gonna
sounds
be.
so good. I don't know if it's just because I like them, so I have a positive association, but it just sounds good, urban
An
legends
urban
anyway.
legend, yeah.
Modern legends doesn't sound as good to me.
It doesn't sound as good.
So
it's a
I'm-
marketing thing almost. Yeah.
Fine
It's
by
what
me.
people decided they liked, so that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, well, thank you, people who decided that.
Exactly. It's good.
But even so, even within that, I feel like a lot of urban legends aren't actually necessarily urban. There is still a little bit of remoteness to it. Like you said, driving to Lookout Point. stuff like that. There aren't a lot of like super city based ones. And the Hoboken Monkey Man, Hoboken is a city, so it is inherently like, a little bit more populated, that very like city industrial feel.
Yeah.
And I found that kind of unique about it because you don't hear that as much in urban legends. So I found this article that had interviews with people who were around when this Hoboken Monkey Man thing seemed to kick up, which was like 1982. It said that this rumor started going around. And so there's a newspaper called Hudson Reporter, and they talked to somebody named Nora Martinez, who said, "The Monkey Man is scary, but we don't know why. It's just one of those things you remember but haven't talked about since you were like 7. And that's in modern day.
Yeah.
She's like thinking about back in the day. And then somebody else that they spoke to named Maria De Benedetto said, and I just kept this totally as a quote because I thought it was cool. They used to say the guy came around the projects downtown. Some people said he was a killer who wore a monkey mask and abducted kids.
Ooh.
You'd be walking, and if you saw a guy, you'd say, 'Ooh, it's the Monkey Man.' I remember one time we were walking, and we saw a guy who had a hood on with fur, and we started screaming and ran away. A boy I went to school with said the Monkey Man grabbed him and that he had real monkey hands. A couple years later, he said he made it up. He was late for dinner or something."
See?
It's an excusey thing.
That's very interesting because that's
Yep.
almost the inverse
Exactly.
of what a lot of these stories usually end up being. I really love that. Parents
know.
usually threaten their kid, "You keep it goddamn down,
Yeah.
or the Monkey Man's gonna get you." This was a kid who made it up to say why he was late for dinner. It's the exact opposite, but it's the way that we all collectively tell a story together.
Absolutely,
I
because
love that.
obviously that kid had heard of the Monkey Man to begin
Yes.
with, but then he adds a little bit of like veracity to the story
Yes.
because he said that the Monkey Man had grabbed him and had monkey hands.
Yes, what urban legends really this is so okay. I was working a lot on urban legends for a while. So what urban legends really are and what all folklore is, and quite frankly to me almost what all storytelling is like a collective form of entertainment. You tell somebody the story, they probably remember the core of the idea and nothing else.
Right.
So the next time they tell it, they've added their own embellishments. Or somebody's running late for dinner and they use the story to their advantage, but now it becomes part of the thing somehow.
Right.
It's like evolution. Probably somebody at some point said like, yeah, the Monkey Man flew overhead, and then everyone agreed like, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
So it didn't stick.
Right.
But anytime somebody came up with a good embellishment
Like,
that
yeah.
felt right, we kept with that. So it's like evolutionary storytelling, primarily like verbally, although now it's all online.
Right.
But like I just love the fact that we all, even accidentally, collectively, are telling a constantly evolving story that won't die.
Yeah.
And
It's
weirdly, shows like this, and anytime somebody talks about it on the internet, anytime you write it down, you're at risk of killing it. Like I've said this before on this show, where it's like
Well, how so? I'm saying, but why is it at risk of killing it?
I think once you define it and once you say where it came from, you risk people stopping
I see what you're
telling
saying.
it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're a dead end.
Yeah, we're almost like debunking it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I see.
Like I think I've said this a few times over the years of us doing this show, but like we're bit by bit, potentially we're making the world a little smaller. We're shining lights into the dark corners, and then you go like, oh, that's not true. Oh, that's not true. Whatever. So we're probably the antithesis of
We're wrecking the unknown.
We're wrecking the unknown, but it's out of love.
Yes.
It's a love.
Big time.
It's a death hug of love.
Yeah.
To cryptids and stuff.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
Friggin' rules. Well, here's another nail in this Monkey Man's coffin. For this article in the Hudson Reporter, they also talked to Hoboken cops, and the cops said that they don't know what the hell people are talking about when it comes to this.
That's great.
And that the only time they started hearing about the Hoboken Monkey Man was after an article came out in Weird New Jersey about it, like, a billion years later out of the 80s. So they're like, we certainly weren't getting calls in 1982 worried about the Monkey Man. We're getting calls in whatever it was, let's say 1997, about the Monkey Man, and we don't know what they're talking about. But
Interesting.
there is a cop who had a thought that kind of makes sense. There was a rash of murders of children going on in Atlanta in 1982. So they're often known as the Atlanta child murders. They were covered on season 2 of Mindhunter. And so there was kind of a ripple effect of fear going on in the country over that. And parents were very concerned about it. So cops were getting a lot of calls about that. So there's a theory that maybe parents were talking about it on the phone. There's this sort of like vibe of fear of somebody like snatching children and hurting them somehow.
Yeah. And
that in some way got distilled down into this story from kids' minds of this threatening monkey man.
I mean, that is amazing. The other thing it makes me think of, and I don't remember if we did this might have been on a Patreon show. Yeah, it had to have been. We were talking about, it was after we did our Leprechaun episode on the main feed. We watched clips of evil Leprechaun stuff. Right. And so we watched that viral clip of that town in Alabama being like,
yes,
you know, I think the Mobile, that's what it was, the Mobile, Alabama Leprechaun.
I think somebody got hold to the wrong stuff and it made him climb a tree and act a leprechaun.
Correct.
That.
So they were insisting they saw a leprechaun. Kristen and I did a little more research on Patreon, and we found a radio show where they claimed they found the source. And it was a guy.
Yeah.
It was a guy who dressed up like, or claimed to.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I think we landed on not thinking this was true and taking credit after the fact. But
yes.
You know.
But I think that there's a kernel of a possibility of some truth of like, he said what he did was he dressed like a leprechaun and climbed a tree.
Right.
And then everybody else may have just taken and ran with it. Right. The degree to which he embellished after the fact to be like, yeah, I did it, and then I hid, and then I came back, and I hid, and that seems like too much.
Weird, yeah.
But it almost...
He said he jumped down from the tree every time news cameras came around.
Yeah.
And then jumped back up.
Which, like,
if I remember correctly.
It seems like you'd want the news camera. If you're doing it for attention, you'd want the news cameras.
Definitely.
But it doesn't seem impossible to me
that
that was the kernel of the beginning.
Could be, yes.
Like, he was just being silly. And then people completely ran away with it and created their own stories and created their own memes and stuff. Like, if somebody was in Hoboken in 1987, two, would we have a viral news report about the Hoboken Monkey Man back then? Maybe it was somebody. Maybe it was the parents being paranoid.
Maybe.
And then a kid saw somebody who was wearing a monkey costume.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Combine the two, and now we're off and running.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It only really takes like a nudge of reality for us to kick into social storytelling.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely true. So that's it for the Monkey Man. But the last detail I want to leave everybody with, because I found this genuinely very freaky, especially if true, is that there are people who say they don't remember at the time kids being afraid of a monkey man, but they do remember them being afraid of the scarecrow, which was an older man who was hanging out outside of the school with straw coming out of the top of his collar and the bottom of each sleeve. What?
I mean, I don't know. Is that the same deal, or is this a confirmed man? Do we have a confirmed man, or is it legend?
I mean, I think it was one of the people that they interviewed. To tell you the truth, that stuck in my head, understandably. I didn't actually write down in my notes who said that. But
you know how,
it was one of the people quoted who said, I remember this. It wasn't them just being like, there was a scary scarecrow man.
Yeah. You know how Unsolved Mysteries could sometimes solve something?
Yeah.
Like solved.
Yeah, now if you watch Unsolved Mysteries on Amazon Prime, I believe, the updates are all in there. There are more than there used to be. Because
somebody like re-edited them to that. Oh, that's interesting.
Yep, it's awesome.
For us, it should be Confirmed Man, which is the least
Confirmed
catchy.
Man.
The least catchy, the least hooky sort of update possible. Confirmed Man. The leprechaun. Confirmed man.
And the answer is, yeah, we know.
Exactly.
Of course.
It was toxic masculinity again, dressing like monkeys
and
leprechauns and putting hay in their clothes.
Confirmed man did something weird and vaguely threatening.
But it's not the typical brand of toxic masculinity to put on a monkey mask. scare people.
No, it's a different twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a new twist on toxic masculinity.
You know what? Good for them for
Filling
breaking the mold.
your clothes with damp hay.
That's right.
Confirmed.
Ooh, I imagine it to be
Ooh.
quite dry.
In the chat right now, we record live on youtube.com/gttupod. Our friend Bethany from an Acquired Taste podcast wrote, "Please create a t-shirt that says confirmed man."
And Brianna co-signed.
I love that.
Okay, great.
I love that.
Sounds good to me.
I might make that after the show.
William,
That
please
is
do.
very, very funny to me.
Yeah.
Look for
Looking
confirmed
like an update.
man.
Yeah.
Coming to tpublic.com/user/gttupod.
Thank you, Bethany.
I want to make that happen. The only limit is my own level of energy
Right.
and ability to design, but I want that.
Your design is pretty damn good. Energy is the more the variable, I would say.
That's true.
Which is fine.
Outstanding, Kristen. The Hey Man. I really do. That is very scary.
So then I Googled that, all iterations I could find, and I didn't find anything about it except for that article.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a
Scarecrow.
great messed up the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
With hay sticking out of his sleeves. And
Oh, you know,
out
I
of
do
the
have
neck of his
I have
shirt.
the link right here. Hold on a second, if you don't mind.
That one makes me think of the Candyman.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find this.
That is so strange. Yeah,
I
links for everything in
agree.
the show notes, everybody.
Sorry, I'm just kind of scanning to see if I can find where they said it in case I'm missing any details.
Yeah. This is for Kit Kat in the chat right now. Isn't this how we got a different shirt? There is, of course, the Running for the Ruffles shirt. Already
Of course.
available on tpublic.com/user/gttupod of
Correct.
Kristen's face, and she's holding a bag of Ruffles, and she's kind of peeking out of that thing that Porky Pig peeks out of.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I found the quote, and this quote is from Sergeant Costello
Okay.
of the Hoboken PD. He said, quote, "There was an old guy who would walk around that the kids called the Scarecrow because he always had straw sticking out of his shirt." Oh, I might have embellished down the sleeves. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
He said, "He used to hang out by Saints Peter and Paul Church. The kids that walked to school were scared of him."
So that lends a lot of credibility to this. That was
It was a cop.
Yeah.
Sergeant.
But you adding, I just want to say,
I
you
know, you're
adding the hay down
absolutely
the
right.
sleeves is social storytelling.
Totally.
You
It's a generous
embellished
way
that.
to put it. But yeah, it is.
No,
it is.
it's the same
know.
thing, Kristen.
Yes.
You embellished it. You didn't even know you embellished it. That's what
No.
we're all doing all the time.
Oh God, yeah.
I
You can
love
probably
that.
only believe about 60% of what I say.
How'd you come up with that figure?
I pulled it out of my ass.
Okay.
Social storytelling at its finest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Little razzle dazzle.
Right.
All right, let's talk about the Cape May sea serpent.
Sweet.
Now, this is strange. I mean, they're all strange. Okay. This. Forgot about this until just now. Once again, from Monsters of New Jersey, this is how they set up the chapter about the Cape May sea serpent. One of the most famous marine monsters in the area was called the Cape May sea serpent, or more casually, his lordship. I wrote, "Explain this." Spoiler alert, they never do.
His lordship.
His
really
lordship.
funny.
They never clarify why people called him that or why they called him that in their book they published.
I should call Crumbs his lordship.
His lord, I love that.
Yeah,
Yes,
I like
he
it.
is a bit of a king.
Yes.
Evidently, New Jersey has a bit of a history of sea serpentry. A lot of sea serpents.
I know. I have some sort of sea thing as well. Yeah.
It's almost all disgusting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the Lake Hoppet Kong monster. I'll talk about later. Yeah.
okay,
it's
great.
Disgusting.
This is another quote, because, the specificity of this storytelling. On April 20th, 1855, the New York Times reported that a dispatch from April 19th said a sea serpent 100 feet long was seen there. An article noted that a $1,000 reward was being offered to apprehend the creature, and an expedition was already pursuing it. Like, immediately, the second that you see something, the second you see something, people are like, "I want it. I must have it.
Yeah. What the hell?
And I'll pay
What
money
is-
to have it brought to me." And then somebody's like, "Oh, we're already out looking for it." Like, what is going on?
I don't know what you call this. I don't know if it's exactly a meme or whatever, but you know how there's been a thing going on that's like, I don't know, the feminist urge to over-explain Gossip Girl. Something like
Okay.
that. It'll be like a tweet format that people are doing.
Oh, okay.
There's some sort of weird explorer urge to
Yes.
go find a sea serpent the second you hear that there's something weird in the water.
A presumption,
Yeah.
an insistence of
I must
ownership.
have it.
Yes.
What are you gonna do with it?
What are you're gonna pay $1,000? I looked it up. April or 1855, $1,000 is worth over $33,000 today. So just some dope, some idiot with a lot of money is like,
Some people have too much money.
have them bring me the sea serpent. What then? What then?
To what end?
When you have the sea serpent, and they're not even saying that it came up on land and like ate a bunch of people. It ate the Kintner boy like Jaws.
Right.
They're just saying that they saw it.
I guess they would mount it.
I'd like to see it again.
Because what else are they gonna do with it? It must be something like that.
I'd like to see it again and for all time.
I feel like it's even look, I want to explain, I think people would know this, that I think is disgusting and shameful for like, big game hunters or really any
Oh,
hunters.
it's
when they
horrible.
when they like pose with something they just killed.
Yeah.
It's even more shameful to like pose with something that you paid somebody else to kill. What else would be happening in this situation? You
It's
just wanna
the
see it?
the least interesting thing that you can do is pay somebody to kill something for you.
Yeah.
And yet those big game hunter, any hunting, listen, I understand that hunting has like a purpose, right?
Yes.
But like I've seen multiple people where like they pose their children next to something that they just hunted,
Oh,
and
I
I'm
know.
like,
I hate it when I accidentally come across something like that.
what a nightmare. And
I
of
know.
course those Trump boys with their wonderful excursions.
Iconic. Yes.
Yeah, iconic. Icons of shit.
And the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's another sighting here. This one's from 1883. The schooner Annie L. Hall sighted what looked like a capsized ship on the Grand Banks in the North Atlantic Ocean. It turned out, however, to be a turtle. This completely
Good Lord.
this flummoxed me entirely. Listen to this. So the book is saying they thought it was a monster, but don't worry, it just turned out to be a turtle 40 feet long, 30 feet wide.
Was it?
The flippers were 20 feet long. And they move on to talk about another sighting.
What
and
year was
sort
this
of
that this
debunk
happened?
it.
Is it like an 1800s thing?
This sighting was in 1883, but this book
Their
was
rulers
written.
were jacked up. They didn't know what was going on.
But this book had to have been written in the last few years, and I Googled it. I wrote, I even wrote this in my notes. There's just no way there was a turtle that big.
Yeah.
I Googled biggest turtle ever, and I got this. Researchers have uncovered shells belonging to the Stupendimus geographicus, the largest turtle that ever existed. Its shell reached nearly 10 feet.
Yeah.
So they said that it turned, in this sighting in the 1800s, they said, oh, it turned out to be a turtle with that was 40 feet long. No big deal. Even the book paints it as if it's like, oh, it's just a turtle that was 40 feet long. That's a huge goddamn
That's
turtle.
an enormous turtle.
So my point is this. The 1883 story is not right.
Isn't
And the
it like
book is not
That's
right.
like bigger than like a big backyard.
Yeah. That's like having a turtle for a backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I don't know why that...
There's simply no way.
That's as if you opened the window outside your kitchen and there was a turtle there instead of a yard.
Right.
And instead of having to
And
mow the
you
lawn,
and
you have to
like
feed
a
the
sizable
turtle.
house, and that's your yard.
You
That's
open
how
the
big.
You open the window and there's a big turtle. It opens its mouth and you just start throwing like carrots in,
Yeah, you'd probably give it, instead of like a little piece of lettuce or whatever, you give it a whole cabbage.
Yeah.
Probably. And that's a snack.
Probably more
Yeah.
than that.
Well, that's its snack, though.
A whole cabbage to them is like one Brussels to us. You tell me
you're right.
you can
Once
pop
you
one
pop,
Brussels
you
and
can't
you're
stop.
you're
Absolutely
satisfied.
not. Absolutely not. William, what do I get at the movies when I go?
Brussels poppers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, what
I
are?
can't stop.
Oh yeah.
At
you
AMC.
do. At AMC, they've
That's
got
my
Brussels sprouts in a little tin. Like it's fancy.
Yep. That's my movie meal of choice.
It's so
Stinky
funny.
Brussels sprouts.
Why didn't they put that in like a bucket like popcorn? You know what I mean? Like they bring it at
Well-
AMC, they bring it to you in a little silver tray, like in a
Right.
cat food commercial, the way they feed a cat.
It's like that.
It's like I don't know.
Well, because it also has bacon and like Parmesan on it.
Now listen,
So
I
it's not
love going to the
necessarily
movies.
in like Popham form. I do use a fork,
Okay, fair enough.
you know.
Yeah, I understand.
What were you about to say?
Uh,
Do you love going to the movies?
I
but
do
you
love
won't
going
eat
to the
your
movies.
Brussels there?
And I love the way that they've sort of like dressed up going to the movies, where it's
Yeah.
like you can order a sandwich.
Right.
Somebody will bring it to
I
you
love
or
it.
something like that. But there is like a level of, there's only so high you can go with the dressing up the movie theater.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The tin, the fancy little tin. I really think it's just an optics move of like,
Totally.
look at the opulence of coming to the movies. You've got a little tin.
I know. And like some of the things you can order there, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't really know that I should be eating Brussels sprouts at the movies.
I agree.
I do it because they're
Yes.
available and I can't resist because I really love like fried Brussels sprouts like that.
And
but
because
it's very weird.
And because it's weird to ask your server at the movie theater for a Crunch bar. Yes, I'll have a vanilla
Crunch.
Coke and a bunch of Crunch. You don't want to have to ask for a bunch of Crunch out loud. You want to
I would.
shamefully pick it up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Can I have a...
I don't know. Me asking for Brussels, I'm always embarrassed when I order it, but I do it
Yeah?
anyway.
Why?
Because it's weird. I know that they offer it, so it's not that embarrassing.
You think like some
but it's-
kid in the...
I think it's strange that
the row
people be like,
behind us
I'll
is
have
gonna go,
chicken finger.
ew.
Maybe that, like, you know, you'll be like, I'll have a burger. Ryan will be like, I'll chicken fingers. Allie will be like, I'll have a wrap. I'm like, I'll Brussels sprouts.
Can I have Brussels poppers, please?
I'm going to smell.
I'll stink later. Yeah. I'll have something stinky wafting through the
I
aisles
know.
and bring it
but
over to
you
me.
know what? They shouldn't have the option then.
You're
'Cause
right.
I'll take it.
This I just called the stupidest story of all time. A story reported in July 5th, 1934's edition of the New Jersey Courier noted that Frank Freeman, the general manager of the Phipps estate,
Ooh.
that must have meant something back then.
Remember there were Mr. Phipps pretzel chips?
No.
Could it be that?
Could it be the very Phip? The very Phip indeed.
Mom used to get them all the time when we were kids.
He was sitting in his island beach home on a foggy Sunday afternoon when a, quote, monstrous shape emerged from the water just outside his living room window. Freeman called, or rather yelled, to his wife, who entered the room and promptly screamed when she saw, quote, the monster writhing just a few yards away.
I don't love that.
As he went outside, he had ghastly visions of the serpent devouring part of the Navy while they were swimming.
What?
So I was like, he had are these like intrusive visions? Like it's giving him like a psychic warfare kind of thing? Or is it just him being paranoid? Anyway, at one point he said that he saw its leering, malicious, shining
I feel
eyes.
like he's putting a lot onto
Yes.
whatever this is. He's doing a lot of projecting.
He really is. He said he saw smoke emanating from its nostrils. Then he turned and saw one Lieutenant Commander Reichelder, quote, fondling the monster, pulling playfully on its tongue.
Is this in his vision?
No,
still?
this he saw. And then
What?
here's the conclusion. It was a joke. It was a joke. It was a prank that was being played on Freeman. The
This guy
serpent...
doesn't seem like he has the constitution for this sort of prank.
No.
If he's
he
going
seems...
outside and he's immediately like overcome with visions of this thing killing a navy,
Oh!
you picked the wrong dude.
Correct.
That's not nice.
The serpent was actually, quote, odd pieces of rubberized cloth discarded from blimps and balloons.
What the hell?
It had been pieced together by members of the dirigible crew. Thus ended the tale of the sea serpent of Barnegat Bay. The hell?
Why?
Right? I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. But here's, okay. That's the sea serpent stuff.
Yeah.
The point is, people say there's stuff, but there's not really.
Right.
We've also discussed, I think, on some episode previously, the idea of a globster. And this is real.
Yeah, it brings a
This
bell.
is when like bits of like decaying flesh, like
Right, it's
rotting
disgusting.
flesh, almost like come together like a gross raft and wash up. So it is like flesh material, but it was never a single thing that was alive. It's like a bunch of dead stuff. Also, whale carcasses
Yeah.
can wash up on the beach. And when the whale carcasses themselves were partially decomposed, bits and pieces of bone would be sticking out at weird angles, and people in the 1800s would go, "It's a beast! Look at its tusks!"
Yeah, yeah.
It's like not a tusk. That's a jawbone that's sort of poking out in a weird way.
Right.
But there are fossil records that prove that the Mosasaurus was local to New Jersey. The Mosasaurus is literally one of the dinosaurs in Jurassic World.
Oh, okay.
Not Jurassic Park.
Right.
The fourth one, Jurassic World. It's like a joke that this thing pops up out of the water and eats somebody at one point.
Okay.
But it's a gigantic predator.
Is Jurassic World the one with Chris Pratt?
Yes.
And... Okay. I
The
know
first one
monster
with
then.
Chris
Yep.
Pratt.
Mhm.
Yeah. The Mosasaurus was a 60-foot nightmare, the book says.
Sounds
Literally
like it,
a
honestly.
living pillar towering above the waves or brush of the shore swamps. As a predator, it was at the very top of the prehistoric food chain. And then they go like, could individuals of this species have survived into the present day? If so, this survival could account for the many sea serpent sightings near the Jersey Shore.
Huh.
Okay.
All right.
But what I was just talking about before about like globsters and corpses washing ashore, I did find from globsterblobsandmore.com.
Okay.
Don't
Look,
go to that website. If you want to see gross pictures of dead stuff, go to globsterblobsandmore.com. I certainly saw some.
Ugh.
They talk about sea serpent washing up in New Jersey. They talk about a 15-ton decomposing carcass. It did turn out to be a whale, but what was notable was that in this article, they just start talking about how Frederick Albert Mitchell Hedges wrote about this carcass that washed up, and he insisted that it was a monster. He said, this mammal, whose weight was estimated at over 15 tons, which, to give it a comparison of size, is almost as large as 5 fully grown elephants, was visited by many scientists who were unable to place it and positively stated that nothing yet known to science could in any way compare with it. In fact, it could be described as a sea elephant, but of huge proportions.
Wait, and this was a globster?
This turned out to be a dead whale. The source I have is globsterblobs.com.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
But when I mentioned Mitchell Hedges, you know who that is?
No.
He was an adventurer.
Oh.
We probably talked about him before when we did Crystal Skulls.
Oh, okay.
The original Crystal Skull is commonly referred to as the Mitchell Hedges skull.
Oh, that does kind of ring a bell.
So that...
Oh, yeah, and then that had ties into, like, Atlantis and stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
And
So
Lemuria.
the guy who sort of popularized Crystal Skulls was also way in on the Jersey sea serpent world.
Kind of sounds right.
Isn't that
just into all weirdness?
It definitely sounds right, but it's just so weird, like that
Yes.
he's like almost like just like nearby.
I'll take it.
A famous person from like ludicrous,
right?
Fear mongering and
Yeah.
supernatural belief stuff.
He's jumping in on it all over the place.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to tell you about the Hoppet Kong monster in just a minute. I'm going to make it quick because it's not really that interesting. But real quick, let's talk about our sponsor, NordVPN.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, you listening or watching out there, do you know that there is probably some marketing agency, maybe some government agency, probably multiple, that are watching everything you are doing on the internet?
And that's where NordVPN comes in. NordVPN is available on every major platform: Windows, Android, iOS, Mac OS, Linux, or Linux. What is it? Linux, okay.
It's also Mac OS.
What did I say?
Mac OX.
I did, oops.
Mac OX. This became like a word salad of syllables.
Well, you know why? Because NordVPN is everywhere.
It can protect you on stuff that hasn't even been made yet.
Maybe it is on Mac OS. Anyway, on all of those platforms, they're on hand to offer you some protection, shield you from those watchful eyes.
And this goes to everybody, whether you're just on the internet, living your life, checking out websites and stuff, or I want to speak to you gamers out there, streamers especially. You can change your location online and connect to exactly the media that you want. I think some of our listeners might be familiar occasionally with running into a barrier where it's like, oh, this material is not available in your country. NordVPN can fix that for you because you can suddenly connect to the internet from anywhere in the world, from any one of their centers.
Right.
And right now, NordVPN is offering a discount to new users who visit nordvpn.com/GTTUpod. Promo code GTTU. If you change your mind, you're going to be protected by their 30-day money-back guarantee.
Yeah, they're protecting you left and right. So get that discount, a free month, and free threat protection today. That's nordvpn.com/GTTUpod, promo code GTTU, and check the show notes for a link so you can ghost yourself.
Ghost yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this other river monster.
If you must.
from
Also go to
Hoppet Kong.
patreon.com/GTTUpod.
Yeah, we'll tell you about that at the end. Don't worry about
All right,
that.
fine.
We'll get there. Okay, so the Link Hoppet Kong monster, my favorite thing about it is that its nickname is Hoppy.
Oh, that is very cute.
Right.
It's very delightful.
It's basic. I mean, what I read said that it's basically New Jersey's Nessie, although yours kind of sounds like New Jersey's Nessie.
No, because
in a
there's
way.
nothing.
Yeah, I guess, but the
My
legend,
thing was
the
a-
legend of it. There's so much more legend to that. I feel like it's much more story-y than what I have.
Maybe, but it still amounts to just be a pile of flesh, a pile of goo or a
Aren't
dead
we
whale.
all? Aren't we all?
New Jersey's Nessie is a rotting dead whale.
Yeah, well, this one's not so much better because, as you may know, if you're a long-time listener, I find Nessie to be a snooze. Nessie, the story often becomes stuff about like checking out algae and stuff. It's really not that much fun.
Didn't we did a whole episode on it. We fixed that, didn't we?
No, I don't think we fixed it.
We were still bored in that.
I think I was.
All right, go check it out and see how bored Kristen was. I don't know what episode we covered Nessie, but go check it out.
I'm not sure. But the way this kind of came about is that back in the 1800s, a fisherman said he saw a 40-foot serpent with the head of a dog.
What?
What the hell?
Could he have seen like a seal?
I was thinking the same thing.
And he
like,
needs glasses.
yeah.
You know?
It could be, except that in a 1984 New York World newspaper in the New Jersey section, somebody said that the serpent had the head of a Saint Bernard dog
That's very specific.
and the body of a snake, which is so weird because Saint Bernards are those like very fluffy dogs that carry like the little barrel of hooch. So that's a weird. It's not seal-like and smooth.
No.
You know what I mean? And for that
It's
to
a
be
big
on
fluffy head.
a snake.
Yeah, that's very, very weird.
Very
Why
strange.
real quick, why is New Jersey just a section of a New York newspaper? When was this?
It was 1894.
When did we finally get our own newspapers? Are we really that much of an offshoot of New York culture that we just get like a page?
We're the bridge and tunnel crowd.
I guess, yeah.
You know, I don't know. So
We should pick up a newspaper and just see what's in that. You ever look at a newspaper?
that's such a funny thing to say. Talk about guide to the unknown.
I have no idea.
Pick up a newspaper and see what's in there.
I have no idea what they might be printing. Right? What the hell's in there?
Oh, stocks? I don't know either.
Oh God,
Bonds?
it's all stocks. You're right. I bet there's
Yeah.
a stock ticker on every page.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't really know. So
On page 1, they should have the stocks, and on the last page, they should reprint the stocks because they changed from when they made page 1.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, to keep you as updated as they can given the medium. At least they're trying.
The newspaper should have updates partway through, where they're like, actually, we have an update about that article from page 2 here on page 9.
Right, because we got it mid-print.
We're writing it.
And that is our commitment to you.
Yes,
the
this,
reader.
This newspaper is written stream of consciousness. Yeah.
Like this the Spiritual Gazette, my newspaper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, there were sightings that kind of ran the gamut from, you know, serpent with the head of a dog, snake with the head of a Saint Bernard. But apparently that newspaper said that the creature could be found near the inlet to the River Styx. So that means that the inlet to the River Styx is in Hopatcong, New Jersey.
Yes. Well, we've
Cool.
already got gates to hell,
Right, we may as well.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there haven't been a lot of sightings since then in the late 1800s, but a lot of people say that they felt it slither by.
What?
While in the lake. They haven't seen it, but they felt something that seems massive slither by them in the lake, and they think it must be Hoppy. Ew, 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 ew. That is so gross. And there have been sightings of massive snakes in that lake. So I think that perhaps
probably just
logic
that.
would dictate that they're probably the same thing. And I wrote, again, effing ew.
Yeah, it's disgusting to have anything brush up against you in the water. Even when you touch like seaweed with your toes.
Yes.
Makes you want to scream.
That's a horrible
Or
experience.
those slippery rocks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Because
about?
they have like algae on
So
them.
slippery down there.
Yeah, at Topstone Lake,
Yes.
where we grew up, you'd feel those disgusting slippery rocks.
Yes, or I'd open my eyes in the water and see what looked like
See
skulls.
nothing but brown because it was like filthy.
Well, was it?
Yeah,
Were you
it's like a
swimming in like
dirty-
filthy water?
It was a pretty brown lake, I think. Yeah,
But-
but it's what we had.
Well, but you don't just swim in whatever you have. Otherwise, we'd all be swimming in like puddles outside.
No, I mean it's just
in
dirt.
the
And,
street.
it was just like dirt and sand kicked up from the bottom. A bunch of little kids flopping around
Okay.
in the lake.
It's not that the water was dirty. It's that kids
No,
are
no,
kicking
no.
up dirt.
Yeah,
And
but
okay.
it's I feel like if you open your eyes in Topstone Lake, it's just brown as far as the eye can see.
I used to open my eyes swimming out there because I was too scared.
Yeah.
It was the cool kids would all be out on the floating docks,
Yep.
and I wanted to be like a cool older kid, but I was too frightened. I guess I would just sort of like put my head down and
Yeah.
like like plow forward, just swim as fast as I could. But I would always imagine hands coming out to grab me.
Yeah.
By the way, I was like 8
Right.
or 9,
Yeah.
just always full of anxiety.
Yes.
Forever.
Of course.
But so I would force my eyes to open and like sting
Yeah.
in the water, but I could just see the light hitting rocks just below me, and I would imagine that the light and the shadows there might be skulls looking
Yeah.
up at me, just like dead bodies down there.
It's very cool.
Never
and
imagined
scary.
that I was swimming around in like dirty, filthy water, and that I maybe had more plausible
I don't
concerns.
think it was especially. I don't mean to
You make it sound
oversell
like we were swimming around 3 Mile Island.
there was a lot of activity. I just remember the water always being like brownish
Wow.
from just from dirt getting kicked up and stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go back. We're gonna have to go back to Reading, Connecticut, and do a story.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I would be all about that. All right, so let's jump to what I think is going to be our last story, Will.
Well, you don't know. I might have like a 50-minute thing to share with you.
Oh, great. Perfect. 50-minute?
Yeah,
That's
but
what
it
you
might be
said, right?
really, really long, even though it is short in my notes.
Of course, yeah.
You know.
So we'll see. This is the tale of Big Red Eye.
Great. Oh, this is like a famous thing.
Yeah, it is.
Somewhat
So,
famous. This is probably the biggest, most famous one of these little guys.
I think
Feels
so.
like it.
This is basically New Jersey's Bigfoot. When Will found it originally and said like, "Oh, why don't you cover this?" What he saw specifically cited Somerset, which is the town that we covered in a previous episode, but it's not Somerset centric. If you are interested in specifically Somerset, New Jersey centric stuff, you can listen to episode 149.
And you should. That episode is incredible.
Yeah,
I am
we totally lucked out.
we really did. We had just sort of like at blind, we sort of just picked, Kristen had just moved to Somerset County, and we found out
Right.
there was a book about folklore there. And some of the most interesting stories
I know.
about this small region, just teeny tiny local folklore. And I ended up using some of that for the Blair Witch
Yep.
storyline that I worked on for the Blair Witch game, which, quite frankly, I would really recommend people check out. It's Hunt a Killer's Blair Witch series, but like we had talked about a ghost of a woman named Knitting Betty,
Yeah.
and you'll see her pop up in that story because we learned about her here, and it just became part of my writing a
Yeah.
little bit. And you'll even hear Kristen and myself. I think we talk about an urban legend. We might have a Knitting Betty episode that you and I do.
What do you
In
mean?
that Kristen and I are characters.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't said this in a while. Kristen and I are characters in the Blair Witch universe,
Yeah.
technically.
Yeah, we do a fictionalized version of Guide to the Unknown, a
Yes.
podcast called Super Neutral.
Yes. So definitely go check that out. Super fun. But like some stuff that we learned of local New Jersey folklore made it into Blair Witch,
Right.
which is very cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So he did make a pit stop in Somerset, which I'll tell you about, but he's not completely Somerset centric. People say that and they also sometimes called him the Big Hairy Man, that he's about 8
Might have been
feet
me.
tall. No.
Was it a quick
about-
check?
That he's about 8 feet tall and covered with hair the color of a deer's. Weirdly, even though he's 8 feet tall, multiple people mistook Big Red or whatever for a giant deer. Because I guess it's like, a sort of auburn-hued hair.
Or just like the thing you'd expect to see in the woods.
I guess so, but the shape is nothing like
Nothing
a deer.
like-
It's
right.
like a humanoid. It's Bigfoot is basically what
Yeah.
Big Red is. But yeah, thinking that it looks like a deer is a very common thing.
And Big Red is brown?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would never think to call the color of a deer red.
Maybe it just felt
I
weird to
think
call him Big Brown.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
Maybe there's like, let's just not do that. I think maybe there are some sightings that it was more of a red.
Yeah.
But I repeatedly saw a color of a deer,
Yeah, interesting.
which is also a weird way to describe something. But
That is
anyway, they said, no, this is interesting. They said that he walks upright with a human gait, and this is according to a bone specialist and physical therapist,
Oh.
not named, but who encountered the Big Hairy Man while taking a shortcut through the Great Swamp in Somerset.
Yeah.
So take that for, what you will. And a bunch of people have said that they've seen it walking in front of their car and hopping a fence. This seems to be
Hopping a fence.
Big Red's MO, is that in the, the middle of the night usually, it's going to cross the road in front of you and it's just trying to get somewhere else and it'll keep going. So hopping the fence is a bit of a shortcut usually. That bone specialist was taking a shortcut through the Great Swamp. Maybe Big Red loves a shortcut.
Maybe.
That's what I'm learning from this.
He likes to get from A to B in the shortest route possible.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to go around the fence. He's going to hop over it.
I can't say I blame him. But this is the coolest part of Big Red to me. So
I hope it's incredibly mundane, but still, it's the coolest.
No, I actually think this is really cool and freaky. So, like I said, people have spotted him here and there. It's usually very fleeting.
Yeah.
But there was a period in 19...
He stayed for dinner once. It wasn't fleeting at all.
It's fleeting, except... No, this is an instance of people not seeing Big Red, but potentially hearing him over a 2-week period in 1977.
Hey!
So, hey!
Hey, everybody! It's me! Big Red!
Oh, no. No, you'll have to see if you can do an impression after I describe to you the sound. Over the course of 2 weeks, residents reported a recurring howling/moaning/crying sound that seemed to be too loud to be a normal animal. Multiple people remarked on how loud and guttural and horrible it sounded, and like it had to be coming from something that was absolutely massive, because it was just that loud and carried that far.
That's interesting.
So people who lived somewhat near each other were calling each other on the phone being like, can you hear a crazy sound right now? And people like a mile away would be like, yeah, I hear this too. What the hell is that?
Wow.
Super weird. It would always start around 2 a.m. and stop around dawn and be constant all throughout.
Well, then wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like on one breath?
Well, I don't know. Maybe Big Red's breath works different than ours.
Because from 2 to sunrise,
Yeah.
that makes me immediately start thinking it's got to be some sort of, it's like a mechanical thing, or maybe there's a power plant
that's a good
nearby.
question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe,
so I have a question about that.
Maybe they didn't. I mean, that could totally be. But maybe they mean like there was no 5-minute break. Maybe there's like a gulp of air and then it goes again. But maybe there's no like, oh, thank God we have a respite sort of feeling.
Yeah, I love the idea of like multiple people in the same area sort of like confirming among each other, but nobody really understands.
I love that too.
That feels like, are you on like, what is it called? Like I've got like my Ring camera, but isn't there another thing that's called like
Next Door?
Next door.
Yep.
So like occasionally I'll get something that's just like, I just heard gunshots. Did anyone hear gunshots in the area of blah, 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 blah? And then one person will comment and be like, a car backfired or something like that. But like this like way of being able to triangulate or like check with people hyper local about something. That's pretty cool, especially for like, what was it, 70s you said?
Yeah, it was 1977.
That is pretty wild.
I know.
Also, you asked me to do an impression.
Yes.
And so I want to tell you this.
This is just to refresh your memory, I believe it's a guttural howling/moaning/crying sound.
Howling, moaning, and crying.
Yeah.
Allie and I have had conversations in the last few weeks about how I'm incredibly loud. Pure decibels wise. Sometimes she'll just be like, you're being very loud right now. Especially because I like...
Not that I'm not, but Mom also has this thing where she'll just be yelling, talking.
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten used to it, but also she'll go, why am I yelling?
Yeah.
And then start talking normal.
But I don't catch it.
Right.
But I also love making sounds. So like for a while, well, that's just weird.
No, please.
Well,
You have the floor.
I don't remember where this came from, but I had a running joke, really just for me.
Yeah. The best kind.
It's one of those things where like I'm aware that like nobody really is enjoying it, which makes me do it more.
Yeah.
But so if there's like if we're just sitting outside and it's nice and quiet, but you can like hear like birds chirping, it's like a nice summer day, I'll be like, that's the corn-breasted Will crook.
Yeah.
Allie will kind of look at me until she originally she had this look of like, how do you know that? But now, of course, she's
knows.
immediately like, oh, he's doing this the thing.
Yeah.
Where I just make up a complicated name of a bird and I'll go, you can tell because of the very distinct shoo shoo. And I'll make, that's not even what the bird sounded like, but I'll be like, they're known for the corn-brillowed Tucker horse.
Yeah.
And birds really do have names like that.
Yes, they do. That's what makes it funny.
They all sound like crap. But so I was just like, cocorico, cocorico, and just like a sharp, crazy sound.
Yeah.
So I'll do things like that occasionally.
Things like this.
Things like this. You understand?
Yeah.
And at some point, Allie was like, that is so loud. And then I said to her something that I'm so curious about. I was like, that's not even the loudest I can get. I think, I haven't tried it yet. I think that I can get far louder than the average person.
Okay.
Far louder.
I'm going to invite you to try.
I want to try.
Here's what I'd like you to do.
I'm afraid that I'll still be holding back.
Let's move the mic a little bit.
I don't think I should try it here. I think that we should have a way to measure the decibels.
Okay.
And really do a test. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't want it to just go into the red.
Right.
I want to know how loud I can get.
Yeah.
I want to see how high I can fly. Because
It's
maybe
like seeing how high we can kick. Will has a pole down here. Will is a notoriously high kicker. It's really funny, actually. Will
it's
can
really
really
peek behind the curtain here.
Will can kick very high. It's been a thing since
I can kick like above my head.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we have these poles in the basement. So one day we're having a bit of fun, and we decide to mark our kick height on this pole.
And so it's marked with our initials. I think
Yeah.
we've got you, me, Allie. I
Yep.
think Ryan's on there.
Maybe.
I think we made Ryan kick.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
So we need some sort of similar
A decibel check.
marker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe more to come.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe we can create like a local rumor
Yeah.
that there's a monster by me doing this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm into it.
Make the chat thing say like, did anybody hear that in town?
Yeah.
You know?
But for now, Will, are you interested in trying to replicate that sound? A guttural, crying, moaning. What was the third thing? Hold on just a second.
Guttural, crying,
Moaning, howling, crying.
howling, crying, moaning.
But make it guttural.
Howling, crying, moaning.
Oh my god. I can see why they were calling their friends.
I literally teared up a little bit making that sound. It
Yeah,
also,
yes.
at the tail end of that, sounded a little bit like Herman Munster laughing.
I don't like that. I don't like
He
it.
goes
when-
like, oh!
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't know why.
I definitely blew out some of the system here. I
I think you accomplished it.
might have to duck that a little bit in editing, or you will. I don't know. Check it out.
I'll try to remember.
Yeah.
So there's your show. I mean, I think that's the sound that takes us on out.
All right, then you're never gonna know about the woo woo.
Let's save the woo for another time.
Are you sure? What in the hell are we gonna talk about this?
I don't know, but we're done.
All right, you're never gonna know.
We have to record our Patreon episode next.
You are right about that.
We got to keep it moving.
We do.
And speaking of that, if you go to patreon.com/gttupod, you can, who knows, maybe we'll talk about the woo woo.
Maybe.
You know what? Why don't you tell us a little bit the woo woo at the top of the next show?
All right, you know what? Yeah, we'll do that. We'll
Okay.
do that. You'll get the tail end of this episode in this coming Monday's
Yes.
Netherworld Dispatch.
Exactly. So our Patreon helps support the show. It helps keep it going. And we have a number of tiers that you can choose from at your comfort level, where you can get different numbers of bonus shows. So go to patreon.com/gttupod to check out all those tiers. I will tell you, at the highest $13 tier, you get a bonus episode every single week. That kind of rules.
Yeah.
And all of the tiers over there get access to our Discord channel, where every single day people are chatting away with each other, sharing funny memes, talking about different suggestions for books and movies and podcasts. It's just a really, really cool, nice group of people. So we hope you check it out. And thank you so much to everybody who already supports us over on Patreon.
Yeah, and just this most recent episode on Monday, Kristen and I talked about our experience at the Jersey Devil Fable Festival, and we also gave our extended thoughts on the new Doctor Strange movie, Doctor
Yes.
Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. You can get our full spoiler-laden discussion. It's there right this second waiting for you. All of this stuff and more at patreon.com/gttupod. All right. So the woo-woo is coming to Patreon on Monday. Along with the other thing that we've prepped, we're going to be doing some ranking of horror stuff.
Yes,
this
love
coming
doing
Monday.
that.
It's an old favorite. Right now in the live chat, at least a couple of people have said that I woke up their dogs or alerted their dogs.
That sounds right.
We'll do a dog check on that sound.
Yeah.
As this episode comes out Friday, I want to hear about dogs interacting with that noise.
That's right.
See what it does to people. I hope that I've given a decent simulation of Big Red.
so.
I will say, not as loud as I feel I can get. Not
I
by a long shot.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
No.
I had no illusions that was as loud.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Check out at GTTUpod on all social media to keep up to date with stuff that we're putting out there. GTTUpod.com is the home of Guide to the Unknown. You can also follow us online.
Yep, I'm at Chillin' Kristen.
I am at The Myth Traveler. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We'll be back next week for more weird, spooky stuff. But until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the netherworld, go we.
I want to hear you make that sound.
Oh, man.
Guttural?
Was it?
Crying, moaning, howling.
Okay, let's see.
Start laughing. Couldn't do it. All right, I want to try one more time. All right.
Okay.